Thank you so much for joining us this morning for the monthly employment data release media call. My name is Emily Hetherington, and I serve as Deputy Director of Communications and External Affairs for FloridaCommerce. Joining me here is Jimmy Heckman, Bureau Chief for Workforce Statistics and Economic Research. At the conclusion of this presentation, we will be taking questions from credentialed media. To ask a question, please submit it through the Teams chat feature, since we will not be able to accept questions through a private chat. We will address as many questions as possible, but if your question is not covered, please email media@commerce.fl.gov and our teams will work to get you an answer. Today's presentation is focused on employment data for September 2024. If you have questions regarding other FloridaCommerce topics, also use the media@commerce.fl.gov to connect with our Communications and External Affairs team. I will now turn it over to Jimmy.
Good morning, and thank you everybody for joining us this morning. At 10 o'clock, the Florida Department of Commerce released September 2024 labor statistics for the state of Florida, as well as its sub-state areas, including all metropolitan areas, counties, and large cities. These data were produced by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics through a federal-state cooperative agreement with FloridaCommerce. And these data were collected through a combination of employer and household surveys, administrative records, and statistical modeling techniques. Florida's unemployment rate, total labor force, and labor force participation rate are published under the local area employment statistics program using information collected through the current population survey. These statistics are based on a survey of households that capture information about individuals as opposed to jobs, and they are calculated by place of residence as opposed to place of work. Florida's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate in September 2024 was 3.3%, unchanged from the previous month and up 0.3 percentage point from September of last year. The national unemployment rate was 4.1%, down 0.1 percentage point from the previous month. Florida's unemployment rate is 0.8 percentage point below the national rate and has now remained lower for 47 consecutive months since November of 2020. Miami-Dade County had the state's lowest unemployment rate at 2.1%, followed by Monroe County at 2.3%, and Okaloosa and Wakulla counties, at 3.1% each. In September 2024, Hendry County had the highest unemployment rate at 5.9%, followed by Citrus County at 5.5% and Sumter County at 5.4%. The unemployment rate of 3.3% in September 2024 represented 368,000 jobless individuals out of a labor force of 11,038,000. Total employment, or the number of people with jobs, decreased by 5,000, or less than 0.1% from the prior month, while unemployment remained unchanged. Florida's labor force of 11,038,000, which is composed of all currently employed workers, as well as unemployed job seekers who are actively looking for work, decreased by 6,000, or 0.1% from the prior month. This is the sixth consecutive month of declines in the statewide labor force, and the first over-the-year loss in labor force since February of 2021. This trend has been driven by an increase in retirements in workers over the age of 55, while labor force participation among the prime age working population, ages 25 to 54, for the last year has remained at or above 2019 levels. In this graphic, we see the over-the-year change in the labor force in Florida, shown in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. As of September 2024, Florida's labor force has declined by 0.1% over the year. The national labor force grew at a rate of 0.5% over the same time period. This is now the third consecutive month that Florida's over-the-year labor force growth rate has been slower than the national rate. Job creation data for Florida is derived from the Current Employment Statistics, or CES survey, conducted by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. The CES survey collects data from over 40,000 Florida businesses and establishments each month to measure jobs by industry across the state. Since these statistics are based on a survey of employers, they measure counts of jobs as opposed to individuals, and they capture characteristics of employers such as industry and place of work. Total non-agricultural employment in Florida rose to 9,997,100 jobs in September 2024, up 17,000 jobs, or 0.2% from the prior month. This figure is up 204,700 jobs from 1 year ago, which is an over-the-year increase of 2.1%. Private sector component of employment was 8,837,200 jobs in September of 2024, up 13,000 jobs, or 0.2% from the prior month. Total private employment was up 175,600 jobs from September of 2023, an over-the-year increase of 2.0%. This was faster than the national private sector growth rate of 1.4% over the same time period. Florida's over-the-year private sector growth has exceeded the nation's for 42 consecutive months. 7 out of the 10 industry supersectors in Florida gained jobs over the month. In education and health services gained the most jobs, increasing by 5,100 jobs, or 3.3%, followed by construction, increasing by 3,600 jobs, or 0.5%, and total government increasing by 3,100 jobs, or 0.3%. Leisure and hospitality also gained 3,100 jobs and grew by 0.2%. 3 out of the 10 industry supersectors in Florida lost jobs over the month. Professional business services lost the most jobs, declining by 800 jobs, followed by manufacturing, declining by 400 jobs, and other services declining by 200 jobs. In this graphic, we see the over-the-year change in employment by industry supersector between September 2023 and September 2024, in Florida, shown here in blue, compared to the United States, shown in green. The fastest growing Florida industries over the past year were construction at 5.9%, followed by other services at 4.3%, and education and health services at 2.8%. 6 major sectors outpaced national trends over the past 12 months. The top 3 sectors where Florida outperformed the national growth rate by the most were other services, construction, and trade, transportation, and utilities. This map shows the seasonally adjusted over the month local job growth by metro area in September of 2024. 17 of the 24 metro areas in Florida had over the month job gains. The Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton metro area grew at a rate of 0.8% in September of 2024, the fastest job growth among all Florida metro areas, followed by the Gainesville, Jacksonville, and Sebring metro areas, growing at a rate of 0.4% each. Metro areas that added the most jobs in September were the Jacksonville metro area, adding 3,000 jobs, the Northport, Sarasota, Bradenton metro area, adding 2,800 jobs, and the Miami Beach, Kendall metro area, adding 1,900 jobs. The areas that lost the most jobs were the Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, Deerfield Beach metro area, losing 2,500 jobs, the Palm Bay, Melbourne, Titusville metro area, losing 700 jobs, and the Lakeland, Winter Haven metro area, losing 400 jobs. On September 27th, 2024, the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis released the initial estimate of gross domestic product by state for the second quarter of 2024. This graphic compares real GDP growth in Florida, shown in blue, and the United States, shown in green. Florida's inflation-adjusted or real GDP growth grew at an annualized rate of 3.2% in the second quarter of 2024, faster than the national rate of 3.0%. Florida's real GDP growth ranked 18th among all states in the second quarter. This marks 9 consecutive quarters that Florida has seen positive real GDP growth dating back to the second quarter of 2022, and 4 consecutive quarters that Florida has grown faster than the national rate. The Florida industries that contributed the most to GDP percentage growth in the second quarter were real estate, rental, and leasing, construction, and arts, entertainment, and recreation. And here we see the most recent job openings and labor turnover survey data for Florida. Please note that this slide reflects information from August of 2024, which is the most recent data available. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that the number of job openings, shown in blue, decreased to 478,000 in August of 2024, an over-the-month decrease of 36,000, or 7%, and down 21.1% from 1 year before. There were 292,000 quits, shown here in gray, in August of 2024, an over-the-month increase of 28,000, or 10.6%, and up 12.7% from 1 year ago. There were 442,000 hires, shown here in green, in August of 2024, an over-the-month increase of 94,000, or 27%, and up 9.7% from 1 year ago. This concludes the presentation. I'll be happy to field any questions from potential media.
From Jim Turner, I saw a brief spike in first-time claims after Helene. How much impact have you seen on the unemployment numbers from hurricanes Debbie and Helene? If so, what fields were the most impacted?
Good morning, Jim, and thanks for your question. After Helene, we haven't seen too much impact show up in the statewide data. Actually, correct that. So after Debbie, we haven't seen too much impact show up in the statewide data. From Helene, it's still too soon to tell. We haven't, the data collection is still ongoing for that time period. There may be some local area information that we can look into for those counties, particularly Taylor County and some of those coastal counties that are not in some of the metro areas that we reported on today that we may be able to gather for you and follow up on this call.
And then the second question from Jim is, what impacts on job numbers are you anticipating from Milton, which hit a much more urban region than other storms this year?
Yeah, thank you back for that question too, Jim. That's a really good question. We'll really just have to wait and see. Hurricanes that can have a really wide range of impacts. For previous storms like Hurricane Irma, you might see a very short-term impact where really 1 month you see some temporary closures or temporary a drop in employment while recovery efforts happen, and then the next month you see employment come right back. Or there's other cases like Hurricane Michael where that damage and that impact was really quite acute and created a more prolonged recovery. Where we really just have to see wait and see once the data comes back how that will progress.
Thanks, Jimmy. Again, thank you so much for joining us today for the September 2024 rate release. If you have any additional questions, please email media@commerce.fl.gov. We look forward to having you for our next rate release for October 2024 on November 15th. Thank you. Have a good weekend.